Hey, good morning, Waterway Church. It is Sunday morning, January 25th. It is snowing outside, and in fact, here in my dining room, I can hear that there's starting to be a lot of sleet mixed in. Coming to you pretty casual. Last night, I got home late from helping to lead a men's boot camp up in the mountains. We had 22 guys there. The Holy Spirit moved, and we were able to really see a lot of guys set free. God touched our hearts. It was really powerful, and I had a great time. Thank you for freeing me to go do that this weekend. But I wanted to check in with you this morning. Since we canceled our worship services, I don't have a whole sermon for you, but I wanted to just share a couple of announcements and a couple of prayer requests, and then just a really quick look at the text that I was going to preach from today. Next week on February 1st, Pastor Javon is going to be speaking, and he's going to be talking about Paul in Acts chapter 15, 16, 17, and kind of building on what you see here in Acts 14. So just wanted to check in with you for a few minutes. I hope you're warm. I hope you're safe. I hope you have a comfortable place to sit today and watch God's beauty come down in nature. But here's just a couple of things. First, we had a really cool prayer request or a prayer report this week. This came from Lisa Pearson. She said that we've been praying for Sherry Isaac. Sherry has completed 10 of the 12 chemo treatments that she needed for cancer. She had recent scans, and all of the cancer is gone. So we are praising God with Lisa and with her friend Sherry. We're thankful that that cancer is gone. And we just continue to pray for Dennis Cunningham as he goes through cancer treatments, for Vivian Paisley as she's healing from pneumonia. That's Kay Hoover's mother. We're praying for Joanne Coverly, Marie Leonard, Carolyn Foster, Lily Neff. Just praying for all these needs. And I pray that you'll take some extra time today. I'll bet your schedule today is slower than it might have been. Maybe take some extra time in prayer. Just a couple of quick announcements. We really kicked off our Anchored Winter Bible School series on Wednesday night. It was a great night. We had a good time. A lot of the people that came out of the classes, I heard good reports. That'll happen again this week at 7 o'clock with supper at 6:15 on Wednesday. And then just a reminder that in 2 weeks, on February 8th, that's Super Bowl Sunday, we'll be having a fellowship meal after our worship service. We need to bring 2 dishes. One should be either a homemade soup or bread. The other dish should be a salad or a dessert. And if you bring soup, please put your recipe on there because we want to know how to make it so that we can rip off your talents and do it at home. So those are just a couple of announcements. And then here, I wanted to finally look at Acts chapter 14 for a minute with you. The background, we spent a couple weeks talking about Peter. Now we're shifting, and the writer of Acts is shifting to an examination of Paul and what was happening with him. And so you can read Acts chapter 14 for yourself. In fact, I would encourage you to do that. But Paul and Barnabas are doing some really special ministry, and God had blessed them with the ability to heal some folks. And so in the middle of Acts chapter 14, we see that there was a man who was crippled in his feet, who had been lame from birth. He had never walked, and as he listened to Paul looked directly at him, saw that he had faith to be healed. He said, "Stand up on your feet." And then that man was walking and leaping and praising God. It says that when the crowd saw this, they began to worship Paul and Barnabas because they thought they were gods, right? They had acted with the power of a god, but the crowd thought that they were gods, and Paul and Barnabas said, no. And I want to look at their response to the crowd. This comes in Acts 14, chapter 15. The crowd started to worship them, and Paul said to them, "Men, why are you doing this? We too are only men, human like you. We are bringing you good news, telling you to turn from worthless things to the living God, who made heaven and earth and sea and everything in them. In the past, he let all nations go their own way. Yet he has not left himself without testimony. He has shown kindness by giving you rain from heaven and crops in their seasons. He provides you with plenty of food and fills your hearts with joy." Even with these words, they had difficulty keeping the crowd from sacrificing to them. Paul and Barnabas were blessed with these incredible gifts from God. I mean, they were so spectacular that the crowd just wanted to worship them. It's amazing, and there are times, and we hear stories around the world of people doing amazing things in the power of God. It's really interesting to watch how people respond to that. Here, Paul and Barnabas left such a mark that the crowd wanted to worship them. But look at the turn. And we know that in the book of Acts, thank you, Dr. Harbin, as we study narrative, we know that every story has characters and it has a plot, and it builds and builds and builds to a conflict. Look at the conflict here in Acts 14, verse 19. After that happened, after the miracles, after Paul says, "No, we're just men like you," it says that some Jews came from Antioch and Iconium and won the crowd over. See, a crowd that you can win over can also be won over. Be careful. But the crowd stoned Paul and dragged him outside the city, thinking he was dead. But after the disciples gathered around him, he got up and went back into the city. The next day, he and Barnabas left for Derbe. Here, just in this quick story in Acts, we see God's work over and over again. God working through Paul and Barnabas to bring the message of healing. And then God healing Paul through the prayers of the disciples. There's a lot going on here. And I just want to challenge you today, as you do whatever it is that you're doing, as you go through your week, do you remember that God can do amazing things through us? We don't have any power on our own, but with God, we have all the power we need to do everything that we're called to do so that God's glory can be shown through us. Do you know that? And do you remember that? Do you realize that you, as a follower of God, have access to the Lord and God is working through you? Don't forget that, and don't write that off. But also recognize that even when powerful things happen through you, really tough things can happen to you. You see that in Acts 20. We see that Paul was dragged outside the city. People thought he was dead, and it took the prayers of the disciples to bring him back to life. Just remember, our job, again, is not to make sure the consequences work out right. Our job is not to make sure that the results get delivered. Our job is to make sure that we're faithful to God the way that Paul was, the way that Peter was. I just want to challenge you today and encourage you. Continue to be faithful to God. And today, on this cold day, stay warm and stay safe. And look out for your neighbors. If there's somebody that you can help, give them help. All right, love you all. Have a great day.